Hey everyone, this is another episode of Science with Sean, and today we're primarily going to just focus on autism and just something that I've been noticing a little bit lately. And this is geared more towards people who have level one autism or have lower support needs than some other people on the spectrum. And um, this seems to be, I've noticed a trend kind of coming up or a theme that keeps reoccurring. And so it seems to be really popular in some autism books, especially within the self-advocacy movement. And like I am on the spectrum, and there are a lot of things that I love about the self-advocacy movement and switching to a more of a social model of autism, a strengths-based perspective, a medical mo instead of the medical model, and just thinking of it as in terms of deficits and uh, inabilities or difficulties and things like that. Um, and what I've noticed is there seems to be a very, a largely external locus of control in a lot of these biographies or memoirs that I'm reading about people who are on the spectrum. And it almost seems like they're playing. I think this might just stay with me because I think some people might be offended about what I have to say. But I see people who are misconstruing it. I see a hint of or some degree of prevalence of playing the victim card, um, blaming everyone else, blaming the environment, having not really having that internal sense of control and self-efficacy and self-belief, self-confidence. And what I mean by that is that because of that, I see people lowering expectations of themselves, um, placing I think this is an issue when I see people place the blame 100% on society. Society's not understanding us. It's their fault. They just don't get it. They don't know me. They don't even try to understand. And I am with you there, 100%. I completely agree that there are problems in society with our level of understanding of autism as a spectrum, as a diagnosis, as a legit disability. And at the same time, um, there are people out there who don't think it's real or think it's relatively insignificant. Um, and so I agree. I agree that there are people out there for sure. However, I've been realizing adopting a nihilistic or completely pessimistic attitude about our situation, our predicament. It's so much harder to get a job, stay employed. I mean, I think 80% of people on the spectrum around there do not have jobs, and even less have full-time jobs. And, half of, maybe even more people or a similar figure, um, similar number of people will still live at home, even if they're an adult. Um, 5% of people on the spectrum may marry, 95% don't. Um, but for the people who are on the low support end, um, you know, I don't think being on the spectrum requires us to lower our expectations. Um, we certainly don't have the same expectations. Um, they're different, but I wouldn't say that they're any lower. Um, really what we have to do is raise the level of support that we do need for the areas where we just need some help, where the situations that do not come naturally, they don't come very easily to us. There are legitimate neurobiological differences in our brains, and we need help with that in social situations, going to the grocery store, driving perhaps. All I'm saying is that having a pessimistic attitude about the future, about where we see ourselves going, uh, what we're able to do, and just not taking ownership or any responsibility, I don't think that's the answer. And, I may have I have different expectations for myself because I am on the spectrum, especially ever since I really took my diagnosis seriously and began to understand it. I don't have the same expectations that I did of myself prior to understanding my diagnosis. But I would still say my expectations are high. They're just different. And in fact, they may even be higher in some ways. For instance, I started my master's degree. I've done well so far in this first semester, having completed a couple of classes. And I still have the goal of completing a master's, getting accepted into a PhD program in neuroscience. Um, so those aren't, if anything, I've raised my expectations of myself because I better understand that this is not like a typical interest that most people have. And that's a great thing, I think. It really helps me to dive deeper with much more focus and duration of focus than I think most people are willing to spend on topics like that. I can get into, I really love exercise, nutrition, getting into really good physical shape, um, but I still get sensory overload if I'm at a conference with hundreds of people. Um, I get sensory overload when I go to the grocery store and I don't have a list of food to get. Um, Sometimes it's too much for me even to drive. I am just too drained. My senses have been too bombarded all day or all week, and it's accumulated. Like, I really need someone to drive me. And I can't work most full-time jobs. I've had to a lot of times before I really understood my diagnosis, and I mean, I would start a new job every 2 or 3 months because, like, I just it would be too fast-paced. I couldn't multitask, and I had to quit my dream job of working at a chimpanzee sanctuary after having just a complete shutdown where I couldn't even like make one more decision. Um, and it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. It was really sad in the moment, but I realized that I only need to find one job that really works for me, that is going to be able to accommodate my needs and accept my differences, both the good and the difficult. Um, and so like most people don't get me. I get that. I get rejected all the time, it feels like, or I'm just really much more sensitive or much more attuned to it if it does occur. And so I have a lot of people reject me, but I only need a few close friends and I'm good. Like I don't need dozens of friends. I don't need um to have a ton of followers to interact with on Instagram or YouTube. Um I just need a few. I just need one good partner, one romantic partner in my life who really gets me and really accepts me. So my encouragement is really just to keep trying. Don't lower your expectations. You are capable. I know so many people who are so intelligent, so well versed in their field of knowledge or expertise of their special interest. Um, just keep trying, try something new, get really strategic at problem solving. I think that's helped me so much. And working on setting firm boundaries with others, learning to say no, and keeping making sure people are going to test those boundaries sometimes, and just being able to realize like no means no, and this isn't a fault of you, it's just my brain, my nervous system that's really overloaded, and I need a break right now. So um, I would say if something's really important to you, like me being me fitting society, every bit of society's ableist expectations of me is not what I want. It, some things are so important to me that I'm just not willing to give up on. I'm not willing to give up on a master's or a PhD to become a professor or whatever. I'm not willing to compromise on my physical health and well-being. So I would say if it's really important to you, just do not give up. Don't take no for an answer. Don't give up at the first sign of difficulty and start doubting yourself. Just find a way, problem solve. If there is no way, be the one to make a way. Pave the path for the rest of us. Um, and yeah, that's kind of all I have. But that's what I've been thinking recently. I hope that helps. I don't mean to come down on I don't want to come down on anyone. I love people who are on the spectrum. Um, I just don't want anyone to have to settle for a life that they don't want because someone told them they couldn't do this or that they couldn't do that. Um, I want to see people on the spectrum who have a life that they are so excited about. So hopefully that's encouragement for you, and hope you have a great day.